it's through your writing, even in your most candid sex advice columns, there's a very firm ethical sense that you get. There is a right, and you're not a relativist in that sense. You are actually kind of a stern moralist in some respects.
I am, which if you read more than one column, I think begins to come across. I get accused of being sort of hedonist and anything goes, and if you read the columns, I'm often telling people to knock it off, that isn't right, they shouldn't have done that. It's just that I will give permission slips that nobody else will give. That there are times I think that adultery is better than divorce, and there are absolutely positively times that when cheating is not just, is the right thing to do for your spouse. And we should embrace those ambiguities and contradictions because it will strengthen marriages. This crazy maniacal attachment that we believe that successful monogamy defines a successful marriage is destroying marriages. It's leading to unsuccessful marriages. Monogamy is a disaster for marriage.
It seemed to lead to successful marriages in the sense that they stayed together longer, even though they were miserable and hated one another.
But once marriage was no longer for life, the anti-gay conservatives run around saying, one man, one woman for life. Ha 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 ha. Tell that to Newt Gingrich and tell that to Rush Limbaugh. It's one man, one woman for however long they wish to be married to each other. So if misery is built into that marriage, or sexual deprivation is built into that marriage, that is the engine that will destroy that marriage.
Yeah.
And so we
My
need to...
My parents' marriage lasted 49.5 years. And they divorced before they could celebrate their 50th birthday. That's how fucking miserable it was. What you're doing, I think, is actually remoralizing. You're not demoralizing. You are saying that the morals that these structures have sustained are actually no longer moral. They're actually forcing people to be cruel to one another. They're forcing people to be miserable. And
particularly women to be miserable and to be enslaved. When they harken back to traditional marriages and more stable families, those were lousy times to be the female in that setup.
My mother had nothing but the household allowance she was given each week. She had no autonomy at all.
What's funny about your parents' divorce, ha ha ha, is if your mother...
I can't believe I'm talking about that, but you bring it out of me because you're so candid about your own family and your own life.
If your mother had been... Was it your mother who divorced your dad?
Yes.
If she had been hit by a bus on the way to the lawyer, everyone would have gone, oh, 49 years together, they had a successful marriage. But because...
Apart from the children.
I'd say there's stuff there too. But 49 years and then they part, that's an unsuccessful marriage.
But, and here's the amazing...
Because we define success in marriage as death.
Yes.
Like, oh, we should go to a funeral and congratulate the widow. Awesome job, high five, successful marriage. Doesn't matter how miserable you were. It doesn't matter whether that was fulfilling. It doesn't matter if it was an abusive relationship or one of sexual deprivation and lifelong misery and resentment and anger and abuse. If somebody's fucking getting buried and you're still married, awesome. And I don't think that's a workable definition of marriage when people have access to divorce courts and lawyers.
Except your wedding ring has a skull on it.
It does.
Which was a design picked by Dan's son, DJ, to signify exactly...
till death do you part.
Yeah.
Terry and I, we want to live up to those ideals, some of them. It's funny, marriage is so new to us, and Terry and I were ambivalent for a long time. Terry particularly ambivalent about marriage. For gay people my age, and we're the same age, I'm 48 years old, marriage and children and family was sort of, those were the throats you slit the day you came out. Those were bodies you buried and then you walked away. And that wasn't going to be part of your life. And so circling back to that becoming a possibility for us was really strange. And we were literally going to get married. We were in the car driving up to Vancouver, Canada to get married on our 10th anniversary. And we called the officiant and said, okay, we've got this, we've got that. Is there anything else we need? She said, do you have rings? And we thought, no, we don't. We didn't think of that. So sort of like not plugged into the marriage thing where we pulled off to this rock jewelry store. It's like Rocker Hesher jewelry store, like tight pants and bad jewelry just to get temporary rings. And DJ was at the thing and said, "Oh, get the skulls, get the skulls." You're like, "That's morbid." He's like, "Till death do you part, till death do you part." And we got them. And Terry wears his facing out because he looks rock and roll. You've seen Terry. And I have to wear mine facing in because on an airplane somebody asked me if I was a white supremacist. And not in a confrontational, that's a bad thing to be way, but in a